Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my review of one of WWE's craziest shows of the year so far, Night of Champions 2025. We're gonna go through every single match. I'm gonna tell you what I liked, what I didn't like, do I agree with the booking results, and I'm gonna tell you where I think storylines can go from here. Now, if you are looking for my full review that includes footage so that you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about, that's gonna be up and available over on patreon.com/SantiZab. I obviously can't post that version of the review here because it would just get blocked due to copyright, so go check it out. Link in the description or the link in the pinned comment. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, folks, let's jump into it. Before I jump into things on a match-by-match basis, you guys know that I like to review the crowd because a crowd is imperative at creating a great atmosphere, and a crowd can make or break an entire wrestling show. And I'm happy to report that the crowd in Saudi Arabia was genuinely fantastic. They were great on Friday Night SmackDown, and somehow they managed to double down and become louder, more rowdy, and more fun for Night of Champions. I think that the notion and this idea that Saudi crowds are bad wrestling crowds needs to get completely thrown in the garbage. Maybe they weren't great 4 or 5 years ago, but now in 2025, not only are they a better crowd than they were then, but I consider them amongst the best crowds in the entire world. Literally, the only comparison that I have to Saudi crowds now are like Puerto Rico, France, and other places in Europe. Sure, like any crowd, they made more noise for certain crowd favorites than they made for others. They were more invested in some matches than they were for others. But for the most part, from beginning to end, this was an excellent crowd and created a fantastic atmosphere, especially for the main event and for the King of the Ring final. By the way, shout out to that stage, man. I want to see PLE stages come back because that Night of Champions stage was absolutely beautiful. I know why they don't do those big grandiose stages anymore because they want to sell more tickets, but hell, dude, I really think it adds to the entire aesthetic and it makes the show feel more important and entrances feel a lot more grandiose and cool. So huge shout out to the Saudi crowd. You guys were genuinely fantastic and you guys scored really high on the whoa review. That whoa for Cody Rhodes was loud. All right, now let's jump into things on a match by match basis. We first started off with Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes in the King of the Ring final. So first I want to talk about the result. Cody Rhodes winning. Is this a safe result? Is this a really predictable result? You goddamn right. We all saw this coming a mile away. WWE telegraphed that they clearly want Cody Rhodes to be headlining SummerSlam, with it being the biggest SummerSlam that they've ever done, the first ever 2-night SummerSlam. I could see it a mile away that Cody Rhodes was going to win this. Just because they telegraphed it and it was really, really predictable, it doesn't change the fact that the match that we got between Randy and Cody Rhodes was genuinely a fantastic match. First and foremost, the entrances were electric. It was because of that Saudi crowd. It goes back to what I was saying before, that a crowd can make or break a show, and this crowd elevated the entrances of these guys to make it feel like we were about to see one of the biggest matches that WWE had in its repertoire at the moment in Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. They sang their hearts out to Kingdom, to Randy Orton's theme, and they managed to make noise throughout the entire thing. They did pick a favorite, and believe it or not, as much as Cody Rhodes was over during his entrance, the crowd was very heavily on the side of Randy Orton. And it's also interesting to point out that even though the crowd was firmly on Randy Orton's side, we also saw some heelish tendencies from Cody Rhodes as he was working Randy Orton's back like a traditional heel would. Obviously, in my mind, that makes Cody Rhodes a smart person that understands his opponent, understands the limitations of his opponent, but I also see somebody like Cody Rhodes not taking advantage of something like that unless they were a bad guy. So maybe seeing some heel tendencies, because some people are wondering when that Cody Rhodes heel turn is going to happen, because he's already mentioned that it could happen within the next year or 3. Which, by the way, speaking of attacking the back, Randy Orton was a master at selling. He literally makes me believe that his back has ruptured. The man is a great psychological storyteller and genuinely makes me believe with his body movement, with his facial expressions, every little bit of pain that he's feeling. I think the best way to describe this match, and funny enough, I used the same description at last year's King of the Ring final between Randy Orton and Gunther, is that it just sort of felt like two supercomputers trying to outcode each other and trying to be better than the other, because both of them had wonderful chemistry with each other. You could tell that these guys know each other inside and out. Some of the highlights for me was this RKO that was instantly countered into a crossroads, which then like 2 minutes later, Randy Orton is selling. Cody Rhodes walks up to Randy only to hit an RKO from out of nowhere. That was a fantastic sequence of events right there. But definitely the highlight was Cody Rhodes going for the springboard Cody cutter and getting hit with an RKO from out of nowhere. Dude, I'm never going to be upset about getting hit with RKOs from out of nowhere because those things are just a thing of beauty, and we got to witness another one of those beautiful RKOs. So the match I genuinely thought was really good. I really got the vibes of teacher versus student, the student finally surpassing the teacher. The chemistry was wonderful. The crowd was electric. It's the ending that I fully can't get behind. I understand what they were trying to do, especially with Randy Orton kind of debating as to whether or not he wants to do the punt kick on Cody Rhodes. But then they also went with Randy Orton going to go grab a steel chair, which was just a ruse so that he can remove the turnbuckle. And in removing the turnbuckle, it ended up being Randy Orton that got hit by the turnbuckle, which then set him up to get hit by a crossroads for Cody Rhodes to win 1, 2, 3. So it was a really, really great match that ended in what I personally felt was unnecessary shenanigans. But again, I understand what they're doing here. They're trying to set us up for Randy Orton having justification for maybe inserting himself into a triple threat or inserting himself into a match with Cody Rhodes somewhere down the line when Cody Rhodes wins the championship, much like he had the justification to insert himself into a world championship match with Gunther when he lost because of shenanigans last year. So it was an ending so that they could have an open-ended feud between these guys that could be picked up at any moment because of how this match ended. But I don't know, it just felt really out of place with how technically proficient the rest of the match was. But I'm not going to allow the finish tarnish the match because I actually thought it was fantastic. And yeah, sure, they went with the predictable outcome, but I was expecting that, you know, it is what it is. We did see, you know, a bit of an angry Randy Orton during Cody Rhodes' post-match interview. The camera kept closing in on Randy Orton, and you could tell Randy Orton was pissed. He was making some faces that made me wonder how much longer we're going to have a babyface Randy Orton, because that man looked like he was ready to snap. So we have Cody Rhodes as our WWE King of the Ring in 2025. He's going to be going off to face John Cena, but there's so many things up in the air right now with Randy and CM Punk that I could genuinely see the SummerSlam match involving a third person like a Randy Orton or a CM Punk. Personally, if I'm being frank with you, I'm not particularly that interested in seeing John Cena versus Cody Rhodes again based on the bad taste that I got from their WrestleMania 41 match. So I personally hope that they add someone else in there to make things a little bit different, a bit more interesting, and a bit more chaotic as well. Overall, I thought that the match was great. The winner, albeit again predictable, I do think is the correct winner. If Randy winning would have also been correct, honestly, I don't think they could have gone wrong with the winner here, but I am going to give this a thumbs up. I thought this was solid. Now let's talk about Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley in a Riyadh Boulevard street fight. A lot of people went into this match with very little expectations, and honestly, I was a little bit confused by that because in the past, Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez have had excellent matches with one another. They've always had really, really great chemistry with each other, and now we have two with more experience, and now with a stipulation of a street fight, I thought that this could be one of the sleeper matches of the night, and I think I'm right in that. I think that this match was way better than people were expecting it to be. The one complaint that I have, all right, is they did a fantastic video package before the match explaining the history between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez, talking about how they were friends when they both came into NXT, the rivalry that exploded onto the main roster. Why didn't we get that, like, in terms of a build-up before the match? Why are we waiting until their entrances to show a great video package to help people get on board with this feud? They should have shown this during the actual build. But I digress, because that is genuinely nitpicking, because the actual match itself that we got in Riyadh, I thought was really, really good. To the surprise of, I think, nobody, they had once again really great chemistry with each other. Yes, there were shenanigans there at the end with Roxanne Perez, but when you really look from the outside looking in, Roxanne Perez's interactions and interference like basically did not impact the match at all. About like 3/4 into the match, Roxanne Perez interferes, but she doesn't help Raquel very much. She just gets destroyed by Rhea Ripley, which leads to a really fun spot where Rhea puts a garbage can over Roxanne's head and then just punts it out of this planet. And then we don't see Roxanne Roxanne Perez at all. I actually thought that Roxanne Perez was going to help Raquel Rodriguez actually win the match so that, we could have further justification as to why Raquel and Roxanne are now our tag team champions. I don't know. I thought that that's what they were going to go with. Instead, they ended up going with Rhea Ripley winning, and I do question that. Rhea Ripley had every ability to lose this match without losing any of her steam, because you had Roxanne Perez right there to give us a fair reason as to why Rhea Ripley lost. She lost because of the numbers game, and now she's going to have to find a partner to help offset those numbers game. You can look, but you can't touch. I'm sorry. I know some of you hate the idea of Nikki Bella and Rhea Ripley teaming up, but I think that that's where they were going to go. Especially now that Raquel is by herself without Liv, I really thought that Raquel winning here, even with the help of Roxanne Perez, was going to be like something that she really, really needed. Aside from the garbage can spot, there were some spots that really stood out to me. There was a nasty power bomb or Tahana bomb that was like through a portion of the table, like on top of the barricade. That looked absolutely filthy. There was also a great belt spot where Rhea Ripley took off her belt and started beating the piss out of Raquel Rodriguez. Any Latino like myself, and probably Raquel Rodriguez herself, has probably gotten the belt from their parents. So I was suffering from a little bit of PTSD from seeing that. And of course, the big spot at the end was this avalanche riptide on top of a table. I would have liked through a table, I think would have been cool, but it was on top of a table onto the ring, which gave it a little bit more height. It was pretty cool. And by the way, the crowd was loud for this match as well. I know that there's some concern about the Saudi crowd not making noise for women's matches. This was certainly not one of those problems that they had here. Overall, I thought the match was actually solid. Chemistry was good. Spots were fun. I do question a little bit the end result, albeit I'm not surprised that WWE just went with the safe choice of having Rhea Ripley win, but I really think Roxanne and Raquel standing tall would have been the better choice here. In terms of what's next, I presume it's going to be Rox and Raquel being tag champions, and Rhea Ripley, I don't know, probably going after the world championship at some point. I am going to give this a thumbs up, even if I don't love the idea of Rhea Ripley winning this. This video is sponsored by DoorDash, and I genuinely mean it when I say it. Thank you, DoorDash, not just for sponsoring the video, but for keeping me functioning. You guys know that I've been posting daily videos on this channel for over 2 years now, so there's never any days off or any slow days here. Filming, editing, uploading, streaming, planning the next video, it's a bit of a grind. And some days I blink and out of nowhere, it's all of a sudden 4 p.m. and I've had nothing to eat except coffee and wrestling. That's when I grab my phone, open the DoorDash app, and get something real delivered, whether it's dinner, snacks, groceries that I forgot to get, or even a cold remedy when I'm running on fumes. It's all right there delivered through DoorDash. DoorDash is more than a food delivery app. It's an on-demand delivery platform that helps me keep my day on track. It's my door to getting more time, more focus, and yeah, more time to watch wrestling. And the best part, you can try it too. Download the DoorDash app and using code SANTI50, get 50% up to $10 on your first order of $15 or more. Keep in mind, this is a limited time offer. Whether you're deep in a deadline or just don't want to miss a second of your weekend, DoorDash is your door to more. Trust me, and I speak from experience, when your schedule's packed, this kind of assist is clutch. Thank you again to DoorDash for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get you back to talking about more wrestling. Now let's talk about Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. This was a really important match for Karrion Kross. Karrion has not been getting much TV time. When he does get TV time, it's usually only 30 seconds long, and more often than not, it appears during commercial break during Raw as opposed to the actual main show, which is why so many people were excited about Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. Let's give Karrion Kross this opportunity to show out and have a great match so that he can show the world what Karrion Kross truly is all about. I have some thoughts about this. The actual in-ring between Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn was fine. Like, I don't have anything to complain about from an in-ring perspective. I think that they did a good job at making Karrion Kross feel scary with many of his moves, his suplexes, his Doomsday Saitos, the sleeper hold. They made Karrion look scary. However, I've never felt like Karrion wasn't scary. I don't feel like this match was about making Karrion feel scary. I just felt like this match, more than anything, should have been about legitimizing this type of spot for Karrion Kross. Because when I asked the majority of the people that were watching me live stream this show, many of them them said, I thought that the match was fine. And that's good. I agree. I think the match was fine. However, I want to now pose the question, when it comes to Karrion Kross being in this position, this rare position, is fine good enough? Is fine good enough at getting him re-signed? Is fine good enough at having him get more matches like this and getting more appearances on Monday Night Raw? Because I question that fine is good enough. There was something that was very vividly missing from this match, and that was talking. Karrion Kross's entire character and the reason why he got this match in the first place was because he kept yapping in Sami Zayn's ear. And yet in this match, for the most part, he was quiet. He should have been talking throughout that entire match, but it wasn't until the very end, the corner spot where he's hitting Sami Zayn with the clotheslines, saying, you're a liar. Just admit it, Sami. You're a liar. You're a liar. And then he gets hit with a haluva kick and loses immediately. That is right there when the match was at its best, when Karrion Kross was screaming, talking at Sami Zayn, because that was the character that was being portrayed going into this match, and him being silent for most of it, I don't think really connects those dots very well. If I'm also being a little bit of a mark here, I hate that refs can just sort of choose as to whether or not it is a 3 count of like raising a person's arm to see if they've fallen asleep, or if you just kind of like check their wrist, because Jey Uso literally lost a world championship because they checked his wrist once, but Sami Zayn in a regular match, they have to check him 3 times to make sure that he's out. I don't know. I understand that I'm being a complete nerd about that, but I'd like to see a little bit of consistency when it comes to that ruling. In terms of what's next, I think Sami is still going to be gunning after Gunther, the World Heavyweight Championship. When it comes to Karrion Kross, I don't know. Like, I was not sold enough by Karrion Kross's performance here to say, oh my God, yeah, we got to get more Karrion Kross. Like, I just don't think that this was a, hey, show us what you've got. No, I think that this was make or break for Karrion Kross. So when it comes to Karrion Kross, I don't know. We'll have to see. So again, I'll end this portion by saying it was pretty good. It was decent. But again, I give you the question to maybe ponder for the rest of the video. Is that good enough? Now let's talk about the United States Championship match between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. You know how I was just saying that Karrion Kross should have been talking more throughout this entire match? This is exactly what Solo did, and it worked really well. Solo yapping at Jacob Fatu, telling him, I loved you. You should have just said, I love you. I brought you into this. That is what I was hoping to get more out of Karrion Kross, and interestingly enough, we got it out of Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa did a great job at portraying the character that he's been playing outside of the ring, in the ring. He crushed it. There is a lot to talk about this match, so let's just get the in-ring portion out of the way. I thought that the in-ring was fine. I was never really expecting Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa to put together this like barn burner of a classic of a match. I really was never expecting that out of these two. To me, this match was always about the storyline. It was always about what shenanigans can happen. So from an in-ring perspective, I thought that it was entirely serviceable, albeit there were absolutely some highlights. There was a really fun spot where Solo dodged the forearm from Jacob Fatu, goes behind him, hits him with a German suplex that kind of looked like Jacob landed on his face. Jacob absolutely no-sells it as Solo's doing Jacob's little dance and his little shimmy, and then starts beating the piss out of Solo. There's a moment where Jacob Fatu does a crazy freaking Jeff Hardy like jump onto the outside where he flips midair. That was crazy. But really, the thing to talk about this match is the shenanigans, because we have JC Mateo, Mr. Orless himself, run out there to distract the referee, to distract Jacob, to set up for the return of the one, the only, the infamous Tonga Loa. He pushes Jacob Fatu from the turnbuckle to help set up a win for Solo Sikoa. Jacob is able to kick out, but now the first domino of shenanigans has happened. We have one of the Tongans back. Interesting to note, no Tama Tonga, just Tonga Loa. But even with the numbers game, Jacob's able to take the advantage. He's about to hit Solo with his moonsault. He hits it. He's about to get the victory, but the ref is distracted, and then Hikuleo makes his debut on the main roster, technically on TV for the first time, and he takes out Jacob Fatu. He does like a choke slam onto the table, brings him back into the ring, and Solo Sikoa hits a nasty thumb that actually like flips Jacob Fatu to pick up the victory. And ladies and gentlemen, Solo Sikoa is our new United States champion, which I think is great. I think Solo Sikoa, with this character work that he's been been doing has elevated his game so much over the last year. I think he's so entertaining, and I think that he's going to be a ridiculously entertaining United States champion. I'm actually really excited to see what his promos are going to look like moving forward with him with having gold. But I will say, all right, the picture of the faction celebrating with Hikuleo, Tongaloa, JC Mateo, and Solo Sikoa, that might be the most auraless faction that I've ever seen in my life. It's kind of meme-inducing how auraless they look, but hey, I'm here for it. I think it's going to be a fun run. Bloodline 3.0 is here, ladies and gentlemen. I do think that he's going to need to give them a name, right? And I don't think it's going to be the Bloodline. We'll see. In terms of what's next, if I'm looking at the writing on the wall, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if they run Solo versus Jacob versus Jimmy at SummerSlam, because we have Jimmy who's been having interactions with both Jacob and with Solo. So I'm going to predict that that's the route where this United States Championship is going to go. Match, again, okay. Shenanigans were fun. The result of Jacob losing to Solo and Solo being our new United States champion, that I actually really like, but the match is fine, I guess. Now let's talk about the Queen of the Ring final between Asuka and Jade Cargill. So when I look at this match versus the rest of the card, this was the worst match of the night, and I would actually say by like a significant amount. It didn't really help that WWE gave this match the least amount of time. This match only went on for about 8 minutes. The next shortest match was Jacob versus Solo at 12, so a significant reduction to the rest of the card. We should point out that the crowd was very, very heavily in favor of Asuka, whether it's because of the nostalgia of Asuka, they just love Asuka, maybe they just aren't sold on Jade Cargill as an in-ring performer, and I know that a lot of people aren't yet, but the crowd was very heavily favoring Asuka in this match. I wouldn't say that they were outright booing Jade Cargill or anything like that. I think if anything, I would say that the correct verbiage would be that they were kind of giving Jade Cargill almost like no reaction, which isn't good, right? Like if this is the person that you're pushing, if this is the person that you're setting up to be one of your cornerstones of the main event scene, having her win the Queen of the Ring to almost no reaction whatsoever, and the few reactions that there were being not necessarily positive, that's not a great look. I actually don't have that many notes about the match. Like I want you to look at, like, for example, my notes for Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes, like a whole page worth of notes. But here are my notes for Asuka versus Jade. I literally wrote, Like I thought that this match, that's the best way to describe this match. It was I don't feel like these two had very much chemistry with one another. If I'm being honest with you, from like a technical perspective, it certainly felt like Asuka was having to carry the load of this match. So like there really isn't much to talk about. Like the match from an in-ring perspective was at best. Funnily enough, Jade Cargill, even though she was like the powerhouse in this match, kind of like worked as the underdog for the majority of it. Like most of the offense came from Asuka, which I don't know. I don't feel like that is the right way to portray Jade Cargill. I feel like if you've got a Jade Cargill, somebody that's strong, muscular, the way that she is, that looks like a legitimate badass, they should be the driving force of the offense in the majority of the matches that they're in personally. The ending of the match was just basically them trying to trade finishing attempts with one another until eventually Asuka goes to run the ropes and she eats a Jaded into a pin that ended up being really awkward, to the point that I actually go back and listen to it. I don't think that the commentary knew that that was a 3 count. They kind of like They also kind of no-sold the end of the match. It took them like 2 seconds to realize that Jade Cargill actually won. I like the promo that Jade Cargill, kind of like the message that she was saying. It didn't really land with the crowd. They really weren't really like that receptive to it. They weren't booing her or anything at that point, but maybe like the promo might have been better served stateside. But yeah, But hey, we've got a result that I think makes a lot of sense when you look at the landscape of the women's division on SmackDown with Tiffany Stratton, with Naomi running around with the Money in the Bank briefcase. As much as I would have liked Asuka winning this thing, Jade Cargill was the correct choice. So the match was, as I wrote down, but the result I think is logical, and I like logical, even if it is telegraphed. You guys have heard me say it's okay to just allow 2 + 2 to equal 4. You don't need to overthink this. I think Jade Cargill was the correct choice winning here, in terms of like what it sets up for her moving forward towards SummerSlam. Asuka, on the other other hand, you can still run Asuka versus Io. Like literally, like you don't need to overthink that either. Just run with that. You already teased it. People got excited for it. You don't need Asuka to win the Queen of the Ring to go with that. Just go ahead and run Asuka versus Io. I think people are going to get behind that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the main event. John Cena versus CM Punk for the WWE Undisputed Championship. And oh my God, that was so much fun. There is a lot that we need to talk about. So kind of let's look at this match from beginning to end here. The entrances were electric. I actually think that they were louder and more exciting than the Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton set of entrances. Oh my God, the Saudi crowd loves CM Punk and John Cena. I'm actually glad that CM Punk made sure to apologize to the Saudi crowd so that we could get this positive reaction, because had he been booed, I don't know. I just don't feel like the atmosphere of the match would have hit anywhere near as good as it did with both of them being severely beloved. I have already mentioned that the crowd was really good for the entire night, but I would say for John Cena versus CM Punk, for this match specifically, I think they reached the level of legendary in terms of how good of a crowd they were for a particular match. Obviously, if you've already watched the match, and if you haven't, you should stop watching here because there's a lot of spoilers, but I'm going to tell you this. This was exactly what it needed to be. This was a match that was purely driven by nostalgia, and the match was clearly driven by nostalgia as well. It was just two guys doing the exact same stuff that they did for years in the early 2010s. It actually felt like I was just watching CM Punk versus John Cena at Money in the Bank 2011, like right down to the exact same mannerisms, timings, moveset, kickouts, everything. And if I'm comparing you from an in-ring perspective to John Cena versus CM Punk, one of my favorite matches, I think it's pretty easy to tell that I'm going to think very positively about this, because this match, even without all of the crazy shenanigans that happened that made this into a little mini Saudi Arabian bloodline rules, this match was solid on its own. Like I said, this was a nostalgia-driven match where they were hitting their greatest hits worth of moves, 5 moves of doom, Punk doing his own combination of chain wrestling. They were stealing each other's finishers with CM Punk hitting an STFU. We had finishers galore with John Cena hitting like 3 AAs. We got 2 GTSs in this match. These guys knew exactly what they needed to deliver, and they didn't overthink this. They knew that we just wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a nostalgic peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and that's just all they decided to give us, and that was more than enough to make me believe that this was an excellent match. Which is funny because going into this, I said that this match needed shenanigans to be good. We got shenanigans, and the shenanigans helped make it good, but if we didn't get any of those shenanigans, these guys, like, it was like they were wrestling in their sleep because they're so familiar with each other. I think without the shenanigans, this match on its own accord was great. It's when John Cena goes to grab the title where things just turn from good to just incredibly fun, because we had a moment where John Cena grabs the title. Classic. You know, we've seen him hit time and time again people with this title to pick up the victory, but the crowd is chanting, "No, don't do it. No, no, no." And as he has CM Punk right there in the crosshairs, Cena puts the title down. And it's not a ruse. It's not, hey, look at here, look at here. Whoa, gotcha. He actually put the title down for the first time, showing cracks and demonstrating a little bit of babyface John Cena, the guy that's not willing to take shortcuts to pick up a victory. Kind of interesting that we had tendencies of heel Cody Rhodes earlier in the show, and then tendencies of babyface Cena. Maybe a double turn at SummerSlam? I don't know. After the whole title thing, CM Punk hits John Cena with a GTS. Cena kicks out. They go back to doing their 5 moves of doom on each other, and then the ref goes down to a shoulder bump, and then we hear Seth Rollins' music after CM Punk had John Cena pinned, but there was no ref. And ladies and gentlemen, from here on out, I had no idea what was going to happen. I had no idea if maybe Roman was going to return, who was going to stop this cash-in. Maybe no one was going to stop this cash-in. Maybe we were actually going to have this turn into a triple threat. I was in uncharted territory, like probably all of you. And I really, really liked how they went about this cash-in. You guys know I don't like fake cash-ins, but this one felt different. This one felt really, really intense. It felt really like it had a mission, as opposed to just like, hey, I'm trying to win the title real quick and get out of here. There was like a level of confidence that Seth Rollins and his faction were exuding as they slowly walked to the ring, as opposed to the traditional let's run with the ref. Seth Rollins sends Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed into the ring. They beat the crap out of CM Punk. They put him through a table, and then we hear Penta's music, which was just kind of completely out of nowhere. He brawls with Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker gets the best of him, and then Sami Zayn's music hits, and then they start all brawling, and then Penta jumps from the stage onto the to a story below to take out both Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. And things, again, hectic. I had no idea where things were going to go. My little piece of feedback is, yes, cool to get the Sami Zayn pop in Saudi Arabia. That should have been LA Knight. It should have been Braun Breaker, LA Knight, and Penta brawling with each other, because that's what we've been getting on Monday Night Raw. But whatever, it's nitpicking. It's really not the end of the world. It doesn't really impact that much when you think about it. But then it just continues to get more fun, because we have Seth Rollins call a ref to the ring. Out comes good old Charles sprinting like it was WrestleMania 24 all over again, only to get decked like Ray Rice out of thin air by John Cena as he tries to slide into the ring. RIP, good old Charles, man. And then John Cena gets back in the ring. He argues with Seth Rollins. He hits Seth Rollins with an AA. Bronson Reed is still in there. He's about to hit John Cena with a tsunami. CM Punk saves John Cena from the tsunami. Then John Cena hits an AA on Bronson Reed. And I mean, again, at this point, we're like in the last 2 minutes of the match, and I still have no idea how it's going to end. I don't think that I've been this kind of like on the edge of my seat for a match in a really, really long time. Like, genuinely, I was just so eyes glued to the screen wondering what the hell was going to happen next. Then we have CM Punk, John Cena kind of like share a moment like, oh yeah, did we just become best friends? All right, let's do a handshake. They shake each other's hands. John Cena does his evil John Cena look into the camera as he's hugging him. CM Punk kind of sees it coming from a mile away, stops John Cena from low blowing him, but then Seth Rollins gets back in the ring. He hits a stomp on CM Punk. John Cena throws Seth Rollins out of the ring, grabs the victory. He pins CM Punk thanks to Seth Rollins' stomp, and he just darts out of the ring. And it was basically just a heist of the century, except it was Cena that walked out with all the booty. It was chaotic, like genuinely so chaotic in all of the best ways. I had no idea how this match was going to end. And if wrestling can still elicit that out of me as somebody that's been watching for like 24 years at this point, then that to me is a W all around. So in essence, we had a solid match between Cena and CM Punk with an electric, legendary levels of awesome crowd, followed by shenanigans that made it one of the most unpredictable endings to a match that I've ever seen. And to me, you just have maybe one of my favorite matches of the entire year. Obviously, I'm biased because I love both John Cena and CM Punk, so seeing my two favorites in this environment in such a fun match in 2025 is going to get a high score from me. This is a thumbs up. Maybe you disagree, and that's fine. Feel free to leave it down in the comments below, respectfully, of course, but I love this. I thought it was so chaotically fun. In terms of what's next, I think Triple H has already come out saying that that's it for Cena and CM Punk, that they're not running that again. Cena and Cody Rhodes, I guess, makes sense. Randy Orton is still in the mix. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins has picked up once again. So there's a couple of things that can be done here. But I overall thought that this show was a tremendous amount of fun. This was way better than I thought it was going to end up being. But the main event was better. The overall card and the show was better. Was there a low point with Jade and Asuka? Sure, but it doesn't take away from the overall grading of the show being solid. So I'm going to give Night of Champions 2025 a solid thumbs up. I thought that it was great. But that's it, folks. I'll leave it there. Goodbye. Get out of here.